Hey, welcome to another episode of Chasing Rings. What's up, my friends?
What's going on?
Going good to see you as always. Tonight we are going to get into our SEC conference media days and kind of do a conference preview. Kind of delve into that. I hope I don't get treated too poorly here tonight with the two Big Ten cats in the building, but no. I know G's always going to give me stuff about Bama. Big dude's usually pretty fair, but G lives for these types of
act like I'm not fair. That's just wrong.
I think you're a little mean to me, G, to be quite honest about my boys, man. But no, in all seriousness, we're going to break down the SEC, kind of look at the happenings from their media days, and then obviously get into some discussion about, what we think their season is going to look like. But you know how we always have to do. We can't start any show without giving you some. Wait, what? G, take us out.
Oh, yes. So remember last week when I searched for the earliest conference expansion, right?
Yes.
And that was 1892. But they didn't beat the SEC. They only beat them by 3 years, believe it or not. So in 1894, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Association was formed with Bama, Auburn, Georgia, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Sewanee, and Vanderbilt. And the following year, they expanded to 19 colleges. So it went from 7 to 19 in a year. And they brought in Central, Clemson, Cumberland, Kentucky, LSU, Mercer, Mississippi State, Nashville, Southwestern Presbyterian, Tennessee, Texas, and Tulane. But the SEC became, in 1920, they added 11 teams. Then the larger schools said, you know what, we're out. And that's when the SEC was born. And that was Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi State, North Carolina, North Carolina State, Tennessee, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Washington and Lee.
Okay. So they did have some of those ACC southernmost schools in there at one point. Okay. Because I was always.
I never knew that. That.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah. Big dude, what do you have for us?
Well, you did mention Bama, and I guess you would have predicted it wrong, but because I do have a wait what concerning the University of Alabama's football team. I don't know if you've heard of the wideout that you have on the team. I've never heard of him. MJ Shergwin. MJ Shergwin is 6 foot, 195, Huntington Beach, California. He was a walk-on who was going to walk out because he was at Bama and a tremendous scout team player. That's the way he tried to make the team, get on the scout team and make the other team look bad, and was noted for his tremendous scout team play. But at the end of last year, had put himself in the portal and was ready to leave Bama and go somewhere else and show his talents to someone else. But did y'all know that MJ was taken out of the portal by Alabama and rewarded with a full scholarship for his senior year?
Wait, what? Did not know, never heard of him. Still, as a Bama fan, you know how deep our depth chart goes. I'm not familiar with him.
Right. Here's my wait what on that one. If you're on the scout team, you still have to go through a portal?
Yeah, you still have to. Even if you don't have a scholarship, you still got to go through a portal.
Yeah, I guess if you plan on I guess if you think about it, if you're still planning on participating in athletics, I guess you would have to.
Yeah, you got to keep track of it.
Yeah.
And depending upon what your value is, they can offer you a scholarship also. And maybe now that you're only allowed to have 105 players, you're given 105 scholarships. Maybe that's your 105th player that they knew something about. He did score a touchdown last year against Yeah, University of Louisiana Monroe, and the 73-0 win that they had against 2 catches for 31 yards. But
Yeah,
I thought it was a feel good
yeah. I
story.
think I might have had 2 catches and a touchdown against UL Monroe that day.
That's why I said this, because I knew you was going to say something like that. That's why I used this one.
All right. Mine probably isn't anything too fantastic today, but did you know that in the first 3 Super Bowls, they were all won by Bama quarterbacks?
Wait, what?
Wow.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Bart Starr went to Bama, right? He went to Bama?
Yes, he did. Yes, sir.
So that means they won twice in a row. And then Broadway Joe.
You got it, brother.
Joe Namath went to Alabama?
He
Yes,
sure
sir.
did.
Oh my,
Yeah,
oh my God! All this time, I thought he went to a California school.
He's got that attitude, right? Like a
He does.
California type of cat, right?
From Aliquippa, Pennsylvania.
Nah.
Well, dog. Okay.
Yeah,
He's one of them Central PA cats. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. All right, that'll do it for our
What?
Let's hop into some news. Man, I hope that you haven't seen this news, G. I hate to break it to you, man, but we got our first training camp casualty. Carolina linebacker, lost his name, Nick Scorton, outside linebacker, second year, had a great rookie year last year, tore his ACL at the first practice.
Wow.
First practice. And he was one of those guys out of Texas A&M. They were looking forward to him having a second big year. He had 47 tackles last year, 20 solo tackles, 5 sacks as a rookie, and a forced fumble. So they were looking for big stuff from him. Man. So that's one of your starters gone already. Now, they haven't done an MRI yet. Don't know if it's a season ender, but just how it was described and how everything went down, his reaction. You know, he would come back probably, it would be playoff time, if that.
Shit, I would cancel it. If I was the owner, I'm like, nope, you're done.
Yeah.
You just don't play with that. You don't play with that, man.
Nah, and especially this young in his career. You know, rehab, get right, and
we'll see you next season.
For next year. Yep. So, you know, obviously other training camp news, rookies reported for other teams today. Cleveland, Vegas, LA Chargers, the Giants, and the Tennessee Titans, all of their rookies reported today. So we're starting to have more teams start their camps. I don't know if you guys saw any information about the Tyreek Hill injury, and I feel bad for him, but I kind of wish dude would hang it up. So just for our audience, if you remember last September, he dislocated his kneecap and tore multiple ligaments in his ACL and LCL. So he's 10 months out now in his rehab, and he basically said he has no power in his left leg. There is video of him on social media, you know, kind of doing some light, short jog type stuff, light sprints. But, you know, he admitted he thinks he's ahead timeline wise, but he did admit that he didn't have any power. So that really concerns me this far out. And I know it was a pretty catastrophic injury, but I'm almost like, man, hang it up and have quality of life. I guess when he first got hurt, they told him he might not even walk again. So the fact that he's doing anything that resembles running is, I guess, could be considered somewhat of a miracle. And I would kind of chalk that one up and take the L and ride off into the sunset if I was him. But he looks like he's training to try to come back still. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I hope he did.
Put on the coach's head, bro. Put on that coach's head.
Absolutely, you know. Why start off as a wide receivers coach? I'm sure he contributed a lot to a franchise. Still no decision on King James, of course, and I'm among the people that are starting to get a little bit irritated by this guy at this juncture. It's like, bro, it's not the same as when you did the Miami thing where you were, you know, at the height of your career, and I was annoyed then, but at least it was a bigger deal. Even the commissioner is getting a little annoyed with him because they want to set their schedule, and of course they want to try to wrap certain games around where he goes. and apparently he's now upset with the commissioner for rushing him.
Oh man. I'm sure the broadcasters are like, yo, dude.
Yeah, like come on,
we
man.
need to get this, we need to get this organized so we can sell our advertisement, blah 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 blah.
Exactly. It's not that serious. And then after all of this, it'll be crazy if he picks Miami with the mishap that happened yesterday where that video got leaked. That it actually is Miami. It's like once it got leaked, then you should have just let it go. But we'll see. And knowing him, he may have even changed his mind. I've heard rumblings about that he's changed his mind recently. So
what moves did Miami make in the offseason, you know?
They got Giannis.
Oh yeah, right.
And they still have Bam. So that would be a good trio, but come on, man.
Yeah, that would, because it's not like LeBron James, you know, he can't play, and he most surely can. So that would be a heck of a threesome.
Yeah, especially with Giannis. I mean, there's nobody to guard Giannis, and you know, LeBron wants to dominate the ball, and he can certainly, you know, still serve as a playmaker for them. And Bam will have mismatches a lot of nights, so that could be a good deal for Miami. I thought that he and Pat Riley had such a falling out that wouldn't have been on the radar, but apparently they
if you're trying to go out with a high likelihood of getting another championship, Miami's not a bad choice.
Yep, not at all. And I guess our last news item for tonight is the WNBA and its Players Association met recently to address some of the abusive messages that the players have been receiving. It's obviously gotten pretty bad at this point. You know, racial, hateful, some even life-threatening messages. They can't stop it, but they definitely approach the conversation from making sure the players would feel more secure, you know, in and around the arena during games, because apparently they don't even feel comfortable during games, some of the things that are being aimed at them. So those talks are probably going to be ongoing, but, you know, there's nothing, you can't stop it. I mean,
there's actually, believe it or not, there's a checklist of things they could do. But I mean, I'll just say there are checklists of things that they could do. So you're right, they can't stop it, but there are things they can do to respond to it. So I mean, for one, you know, they can just start having the positive message, asking fans not to do that. They can definitely stop there. They can definitely make sure that their players are safe, you know, to the degree they can at home. Definitely when they're traveling, definitely when they're in stadium, they can definitely do that. Honestly, with the money that these owners have, they can definitely set up or work with a private investigation firm to kind of help track these people down so they can be referred, you know, to the FBI or to the SBI, whichever way. So, I mean, there are definitely things that they can actually do to start mitigating it, but you're right, they can't totally stop it.
Yeah, I think they should just look towards the NBA. I think the NBA has done a pretty good job of, you know, removing fans when they've had to. I know banning fans from arenas, revoking season tickets, and certainly we know that they can investigate these at the federal level if need be. So yeah, I'm sure that their discussions probably centered around just the things that you named. You know, how can we at least address it? Because, you know, with something like that, you at least as a player want to feel that the league is doing something about it and not just saying, oh, we're sorry. You know, we'll make sure that there's more security courtside. You know, I want to at least know that you have some parameters in place that when this does happen, that we know that you're doing ABC. So those discussions will continue, but that's just a shame, man. And, you know, it's interesting timing, too, because I feel like the WNBA, has really grown in popularity. I mean, I remember years ago, I wasn't really thinking about watching the games. And a lot of times I would even forget when the season actually was. But now I think we're all very attuned to it based on the last few draft classes that they had. You know, a lot of the popular college stars that we've seen recently entering the league has really given the league a lot of good attention, and the quality of play has been excellent. So disappointing timing on this. So I hope that, you know, the fans will try to conduct themselves a little bit better. But it's kind of the times that we're in right now, right? Nobody has a censor button anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know why people just can't be nice. I'm like, it's
Nope.
not that. It don't cost
Yeah.
anything to be
No,
a kind
very
person.
easy. It's a lot of work to do the opposite, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's intentional.
All right, so that'll do it for news. We're gonna hop right into our SEC Media Days again. That's taking place from July 20th through the 23rd in Tampa, and actually it's the first time that they had SEC Media Days in Florida, believe it or not. You would think that they would have hit Florida a long time ago, but first time in Florida. So as the other conferences did, Commissioner Sankey started out with his state of the conference, and certainly two of the biggest items on there were, the SEC threatening to possibly separate itself from the NCAA for future competition. And a lot of people were going back and forth regarding the legitimacy of that discussion and whether that's something that they'd really consider. And from everything that I'm seeing, I don't know if you guys have seen anything differently. It seems like it really is on the table as a real discussion. It's not something that you're just throwing out there. Like it is literally up for consideration at some point.
You think the presidents are actually going to go for that?
They said that there's a majority of the conferences on board with this.
Man, that's going to hurt the SEC.
In a lot of, they got to, who we got to bring with us, man. We have to bring the Big Ten with us. I think that would be part of it. I don't think they would ever go by themselves because, I don't even see how that would work. I question how it would work with just them in the Big Ten, because I think it really, there would be limited competition from my perspective. You just have two of your biggest conferences, obviously, but then you're just going to keep playing each other. Like, where's the excitement in crowning the champion out of a finite set of teams? You know what I'm saying? So
they'll just have their own, Big Ten, SEC.
Exactly.
What do they call them? Big Ten, SEC, whatever they call it.
Challenge type things. Yeah.
Yeah, like they do in basketball, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I guess what'll be interesting is, I know that the overall thing is for them to move, but would there be any holdouts like there were in the Pac-12? And I do apologize for last week. I said Big 12, but in the Pac-12 you have there Washington State and Oregon State. The question is, in the Big Ten, will somebody like Northwestern, the academic schools, Northwestern and Purdue, who are the real Big Ten traditionalists, will they be the ones that stay? Will Mississippi State stay? And Auburn and anybody else that's not doing so good right now. So I think that'll be the thing to start the conferences. The College Protect Sports Act, now they're trying to cross the sands on that as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that dictates the behavior, because it seemed like it was very strong, but then I don't know if the commissioner was told to back off of it, but he seemed to back off of it as time went on, for this. And I think that they're trying to put their foot down so people stop messing with them. I guess that's what they feel like. And we know a lot of it has to do with people missing the college playoffs. A lot of this is about the college playoffs and whether it's going to expand. And if they don't get what they want because of that, because I think I saw, is it the Big Ten won the last 3 national championships. And before that, and up till, I forgot how many years it was. I think it was maybe 8 of 11 years. The SEC had won 8, but there seems to be a gap, and they seem to be in some type of slump. But then you see people not making it, like Texas last year. That's one thing I did get, from Sarkisian, that, hey, man, we're not letting this happen again. We got to be in here. And somebody is going to lose out. And they even said, looking between the Big Ten and the SEC, that even though the SEC's worst teams were better than a lot of the Big Ten's worst and middle teams, that the SEC's top teams were ranked below the top 3 in the Big Ten. So there's a whole lot of discussion about, like you said, G, I think a whole season-long of competition and a whole lot of challenges between the SEC and the Big Ten. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Big Dude, you touched on a couple of things, which is awesome. The Protect College Sports Act. They certainly have an issue with a few of the items in that, and I think a lot of people do. So, that's going to be fine-tuned, and it seems like that's going to have enough momentum to eventually go through at some point. So we'll see what that final version looks like. You talked about the national championship drought that came up, but there's 6 programs that are going to have first-time coaches this year. Kentucky, Auburn, Florida, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and LSU all will have not first time head coaches, all have new head coaches because Lane Kiffin obviously isn't a first time head coach. But in the last big item was them going to the 9-game conference schedule, which will be the first time that they have a 9-game conference schedule. And big talking point for them was that'll give them a better strength of schedule when it comes down to the CFP committee making its selections. But one thing that I want to point out with regard to that and the SEC threatening to separate itself is that, to me, the direction of where the CFP is going with looking at the 24 teams, because I know 16 is that next number that's being thrown out there. It probably will be 24 teams. To me, I feel like it helps them if they're concerned about getting CFP spots. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it helps that as conference like the SEC.
I think it does. I mean, look where they've ranked at. You got more conference games and all those teams. And I don't know what the college football playoff committee's looking at, but a lot of them have some very strong non-conference opponents. Like, who is that Ohio State? I think Ohio State's playing Texas, right? Is that the first game?
Yeah. It's not. I think it was the first game last year. This year, I think it might be the 3rd game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
It's either the first or second.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly. Let me see. I have it, but I didn't have the date on it. My bad.
Right. But even within those teams, I mean, you're going to have those games that are, I would say, national games. Within the conference, you have games that are regional games on a lot of those different networks. And now this is different. Now Alabama has left CBS and now they're on ESPN. I didn't realize they had left CBS. I did not know.
They have that ESPN has that SEC network, ESPN SEC partnership.
Right.
I think the SEC would be overplaying their hands if they separated.
I think so too.
I think they'd be truly overplaying. Because a big part of the draw to the SEC big picture is when they finally match up non-conference. Yeah. It's a lot of the argument. The argument is, are they better than the Big Ten? So I think it's really more of that. And I think that goes for any conference, to be quite candid, is that if you just pull them out of the, it's a NCAA CFP partnership. If they pull out of that, you're a Bama fan. Do you see a benefit if SEC pulls out and has no access to the CFP base?
No, and I don't see any benefit even if the Big Ten goes with them. I don't see where that benefits. I think it ruins college football if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if I would. I can't honestly say I would be high on watching any Big Ten football if they pulled out. I don't think I would be high on it at all.
If for some reason, and I couldn't see them doing this solo, but if some reason the SEC just decided to go dolo on this, my interest in college football overall would wane.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think you would lose some of the parity now. Some might say, well, the Big Ten wins the last 3, but, the SEC had a run like that too, and it was still interesting. I think now, come on. Wouldn't the Big Ten win the championship every year? Maybe Miami might sneak in. Maybe ACC becomes the next powerhouse conference, but I think there'd be a big gap. Like now, I think that there's a closer gap between the Big Ten and the SEC than there would be between the Big Ten and the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
because the ACC just doesn't run that deep.
No,
Right.
it really doesn't.
So I would have a problem with college football overall if any version of this were to happen. I just don't see where it would be interesting anymore. Like I said, if it was the Big Ten and the SEC, just play each other all the time. And what are you playing for at the end of the year? Because you're not incorporating. It's not a true champion to me.
No, they really isn't.
So
Unless they're trying to act like they are the AFC and the NFC.
Well,
yeah.
No.
but all the new stuff for them this year, the 9 conference games, and I think that the parity in the SEC has gotten a lot better. You know, you really don't know through the middle of the pack, through the top of the pack, who's going to beat who. Then, of course, there's a September 19th game between Ole Miss and LSU. Right? That's a national game. That's a game that nobody wants to miss. So they have a lot of wins in keeping it together. I don't know. I mean, looking at the leadership, too, of somebody like even with Kirby Smart, man, stop coming up with excuses, man. You just didn't get it done. That he had too many days off. Now we're hearing that he's had too many days off. You play the game, the Big Ten, the SEC championship game, conference championship game. Then you get 25 days off. Who gets that? My thing is what's the excuse? What are you trying to say? Let's play through it. Now, if they get rid of a whole lot of stuff and they combine conferences and do any other type of expansion, then those games are gone. But if you go to the 24, that's the question. Does going to 24 for the CFP playoffs mean that the conference championship games are gone? That's going to be interesting as to what comes with it. Because even if the College Protect Act has, they put their 2 cents in, everything still is dictated by some other move and something else that has to do with the TV and the SEC network. What about them? You know, they worked hard to get where they were at, and people actually watched that.
Yeah, you pose some good points there, big dude. I think when I'm looking at the conference championship games, because of the way selections are made for the playoffs, I could probably go with or without them. To be quite honest, I don't think they have the same meaning and potential meaning that they have in college football as they do in college basketball. Because
I would agree
in
with
college
that.
basketball, you know what I'm saying? Teams are saving their seasons essentially the way the rules are. But Duke, I'll leave that there. Duke they won their chip and it didn't mean anything for them. So I think I think the CFP uses so many other variables to select the teams. I think you wouldn't miss anything in getting the correct teams in if you eliminated the championship games.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you've gone into these games and they don't even mean anything for the bigger conferences. Like I said, this was a different year for the ACC, but for the Big Ten and the SEC, championship games didn't mean much, to be quite honest with you. Not with Bama getting in, still without getting embarrassed and still getting in. So what did the game mean?
Right.
Georgia's trying to send a message. They're trying to beat their rival, knock their rival out, which is the way they played. It looked like they were playing to get rid of those jokers, right? 2 for 1 in that game, and then they're in anyways, and end up advancing a week past you in the playoffs.
I just think I might be with it if you got to a point there when you looked at the top 50, because there is a ranking, I want to say, that goes up to maybe 50. And it's constantly just Big Ten, and I only mentioned them first as alphabetical order. Big Ten, SEC. If they're filling out the top 35, 40 for years on end, then okay, you might say, well, you know what? Why not just make that essentially the equivalent of AFC, NFC? And then you may go back into divisions with each one of those leagues, and now you have a playoff. But that's only because they just pretty much have been blowing everybody out of the water. But the reality is the Big 12 and ACC is going to always have somebody and some teams in that top 50, and you know it. So it's like, come on, SEC, and I pray to God the Big Ten don't go along with it. I mean, don't just blow. I mean, this would truly blow it all the way up.
Well, it's funny. You just said something that could possibly save it. It was kind of a light bulb for me. If they went to an NFL structure.
Mm-hmm.
So the SEC's got 16 teams. So I believe there's 16 in each conference, right? I don't know. How many do you guys have? I think you guys have more than 16.
Yeah, we have
18.
You have 18?
Yeah, 18.
I think that's workable. And I think because what we're used to seeing, I think it will be hard to wrap our minds around it at first. But think about something like that 10 years down the road, because there's definitely a separation. If you take the Big Ten and the SEC, there's the separation between those teams and everybody else that plays college football, with the exception of, a Miami here or there now, we hope. And, teams like Florida State's, and I would say like a Florida State, if they could ever get back, there's only going to be a handful of teams. And maybe you could do something where if you need to level it off, there's 5 at large, but then maybe you're getting back into the selecting again. So
right.
But
because I'm going to say, here's the wrench that gets thrown into that. The ACC, they're going to have 1 or 2 that's going to blow up the spot. They won't that'll actually be ranked higher than some of those in the SEC and the Big Ten. You never know what year where it could be Houston. It might be Texas Tech may just have me playing. TCU may happen to, catch lightning in a bottle. You just don't know. BYU, you just never know. So
that's
I'm like,
because you know what? You said something very important. Because if you look at the last, I don't think it's the last 2, but maybe 2 out of the last 3. Well, yeah, let's take the last 3 national championship games. You had ACC as one of those outlier conferences. You had Notre Dame as an independent, and you had TCU from the Big 12. So there you go, right there, G. Yep, Great point.
Forget about it. I forgot about Notre Dame, that they will always blow up the spot.
Yeah, I was gonna skip over them, but I'm like, nah, they work for this particular example. Even though it wasn't a conference, they're an outlier equivalent to a conference that made it to a championship game. So man, we could probably talk that to death, man. So I think we've covered a lot of the state of the conference stuff, and actually we got into the major storylines too. So we can actually jump into previewing the teams and, kind of looking at our thoughts on some of these teams. And I know some of these we won't be spending a lot of time on. And kind of, if you can, kind of think about some of the key matchups if you've had a chance to look at those yet. So on day 1, we had Oklahoma, Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee. So we can start with those 4 teams. Oklahoma is interesting. I mean, out of those teams, out of that first day, I would say Oklahoma and then Tennessee maybe a second. Close to them would kind of be the 2 contending teams, I think, out of that first day. But I'm not really that sold on Tennessee, and I'm not going to get too much into it. I'll defer to you guys to go first. What are your thoughts on any or all of those teams that participated in day 1? So again, that's Oklahoma, Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee.
I really have nothing except for step back big picture, games that may impact an SEC championship or
that's cool.
Playoff berth is going to be the Red River rivalry. So I think that it really, no matter how Oklahoma is playing, they're going to be ready for Texas. You know what I mean? So relative to Oklahoma, that's the only thing that gets on my radar with them is the Red River rivalry and whether or not they'll play a spoiler to Texas.
Right, and what I say is Texas is really tough at home. I mean, Texas has lost some good players, as we know. Phil the linebacker, he was one of the top of the nation. He left last year, but I think Texas, you got Arch and those guys are a lot more ready. Texas is very dangerous at home. I think their record, the last 21 games, I think they won 19. So, and that was with teams that weren't even as good. I just don't see Oklahoma having to get over that hump. Kentucky, I just don't think Kentucky is in the race, where you start talking about NIL. Obviously, they'll be a tad bit competitive, but not do a whole lot with Kentucky. And I say Missouri might be a tad better, with them and their schedule. I just don't see those teams competing. Now, Texas, I think Texas opening game, I think that the Ohio State game, even though it's a non-conference game, it'll set a pace. If, and I say this for real, G, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State, but if they find a way or at least stay in the game, it may dictate how that conference goes, how the SEC goes this year with them, because they need to get out of the gate a little bit better than they did before.
Yeah.
All right, so for me, out of those first teams on day one, Oklahoma certainly, as I mentioned, would be the team that I think has the biggest CFP threshold. I really like their quarterback, John Mateer. He was hurt last year for a good part of the season. I mean, he was even hurt in the Texas game last year that they ended up losing. I think he played in. I think that's the game he came back, but he wasn't 100%. And Texas, it wasn't one of the best Red River rivalry games we've seen. It was rather pedestrian, to be quite honest with you, and Texas squeaked it out. But I really like him as a returner. One of the issues with Oklahoma is their defense. I don't know if you remember how nasty their defense was last year. I mean, that defense was mean, man. And if you had to go to Norman, Oklahoma to play, pretty much forget about it.
They were tough.
The issue for them is, can their offense step up and match what the defense brings? And I think it'll be a lot of pressure on Mateer this year to be who they thought that he was. And again, injuries really, really got him. The other big thing they have too is that they now have his old offensive coordinator that he had at Washington State. So that might also help make that offense a little bit better. But they went through some really rough stretches last year. And if you even think about the playoff game against Alabama, they kind of went through that again, right? Alabama's defense all of a sudden in the second half looked like world beaters. And we know that their defense was not very good last year. But in that second half against Oklahoma, Oklahoma's offense just disappeared. And it appeared that, made Alabama look really good. So I'm looking for them to clean up things on the offensive side. Coach Venables was kind of calling both sides of the ball last year. I don't know if you guys realize that or not. So having this OC in there will help very much. A lot of people think Oklahoma is one of the most disrespected 10-win CFP teams in the country headed into this season. I mean,
I would agree
you guys
with that.
think about,
I disrespect the heck out of it.
That's what I was going to say. I mean,
So
we
I
haven't really,
but
when you think about contenders next year, I don't think that Oklahoma's on any of our our list of, Oklahoma might win the national championship. I just don't. As good as I think they can be.
I do think they're good enough to be a spoiler, though. And I do respect them to that degree.
They'd have to get they had to get on the right part of the bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably have to win the SEC is what they probably have to do, and be be a high seed to avoid certain teams.
But I think they can spoil someone's day in the SEC, though. I think
they definitely can. I mean, if you look at their schedule, definitely, that Red River rivalry game is huge. But Oklahoma's got some things on their schedule that they need to be. They have 7 games that I feel are difficult games. I don't know how good Michigan's going to be this year, but that's a big out-of-conference game. That's at Ann Arbor the second week of the season. Those two teams, I think, have a home and away series because they played last year.
Yeah,
Again,
I think they do.
ugliest games I've seen last year was that game. Not much offense. Oklahoma kind of just shut down Michigan. It was just ugly. But they play Texas, as you mentioned earlier. They catch Ole Miss coming to them. They have A&M at home, which is helpful to have them at home, and they have South Carolina at home, who I think is going to be very good, and I'll talk about them a little bit later. But they go to Georgia, and they end at Missouri, which is not an easy game.
No, it's not.
So that's a little bit of a juggernaut of a schedule for them to get through. Now, if they could get through that, I say even with 2 losses, then we'll see. But out of those 4 teams, I think they'd have to be the one that I think has the most potential.
Right.
Go ahead, big dude.
Yeah, I was going to say, Oklahoma just has to be able to run the football. Red River is a good example. Only 48 yards rushing in a game like that, and they were 5-0. You got to run for more than 48 yards.
Yeah, you do.
Look, when we get to Texas, I'll tell you why I believe that's going to be an important game.
Tennessee, you never know what you're going to get with Tennessee. And this year, as I think the last few years, they have a quarterback issue. All right.
Yeah.
Now, everything is leaning towards them starting this kid from North Carolina. He was Mr. Football in North Carolina, Faison Brandon. I think he was a 4-star. Certainly, they lost Joey Aguilar, who was the starter. He tried to get an extra year, but that didn't get passed. So for them, they are going to have a very young quarterback coming in. It's a tough environment to play in, but I don't know if they have enough personnel-wise to necessarily be as good as maybe they've been the last couple of years. Now, they have one of your guys, big dude. They have Jim Knowles, actually both of you guys, Jim Knowles, who was the DC at both Ohio State and Penn State. So he's now their defensive coordinator. You said he could go?
Yeah.
Go here somewhere, man.
I guess that's,
say more.
I guess that's why he's not at Penn State or OSU anymore, right?
Man, he stole $5 million from him, $3 million. He stole.
And, Tennessee already had a defense that was struggling, and it doesn't look like Knowles is getting a big endorsement to reverse that. From
he learned from his mistakes, maybe, because, he has a boatload of, experience. But whether you learn from the experience and become a better coordinator is a different question.
I think one of the things I'm concerned about with Tennessee
big dude.
is I think they have the potential to be good, but they always seem to disappoint, especially after they have big wins. They never seem to build momentum off of that. And again, looking at the schedules here, some of the key games they have one of the easier schedules in the SEC, believe it or not. So it's an opportunity, but I don't think they have the personnel. Their tough games are at A&M, and they only have 5, what I consider. So I have my range is 5 tough games through 7 tough games are the most. Actually, no, Mississippi State has 8, but they're irrelevant.
You better call Arch Manning and ask him how to deal with it.
So Tennessee at Texas A&M. They have Bama at home again. They have LSU at home. They have Texas at home. And then they go to South Carolina. So they have 5 games. I could totally see those being 5 losses right off the rip. So I'm going to stop there with Tennessee.
Yeah, I was like, you being real generous right about now.
No. I wasn't saying they were going to win. I was just saying that they only have 5 tough games versus everybody else has 6, 7, 8, 9 tough games.
I got you.
Yeah. Oh, no. I wasn't saying easy that, they can just run through the schedule. No. They have the least number of tough games, but they still have.
Gotcha.
That's how great the conference is, man.
Whatever.
Everybody wants to hear it. Day 2, we have Auburn, Georgia, the defending SEC champ, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. Let's start with Georgia, fellas. What's your take on the Bulldogs going into this next campaign? And I like that you already touched on. Let's start there, big dude. Kirby and the excuses, because I did not comment on that. I'm with you. Bro, have your team ready to play. Your experience, you've won titles before. You know what the days off are. I don't want to hear that you had too many days off and that's why you lost.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are, they play a tough schedule, and they do the impossible that nobody else does. They make good on those championship games. But then, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Bama on the road, and what they do with Ole Miss on the road. Those are going to be two big games for them. And they're another team. If they can pull up with all these other games, and they can pull up with even 2 losses, they still should be okay. But I don't know how much better they're going to be. Something always happens near the end of the season. So I think the question will be with Georgia is where they have their real depth. I mean, what it says on the roster is one thing, but then really have. Something always happens where one key person is out and you can see it. And I can't remember who they all were, but they've had a couple of key people out, getting toward the championship game, winning it, and then not even being close. But they should win just about all their games that they have. Going undefeated is almost unrealistic in the SEC. So I think that as time goes on, they have to build their depth, not just, they don't need it against certain teams, but you have to have more people, right before Thanksgiving. Who is it that you have then, because nothing's going away yet. The college, the conference championship isn't going away, nor is the time period where you get a chance to be in the playoffs. Now, did I think I hear something else different about, what did they say about they got to pick? They got to be able to pick where, what was it, the quarterfinals or where it goes? It was something that I didn't understand. They said that it was different this year. I didn't understand it at all. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, me either.
What's your take on Georgia, G?
Yeah, I'm looking at my notes. I think that they're really in a precarious situation, along with Bama, but I get to Bama later. Because like the last 10 years, they've been either 1 or 2 in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And they have and they won 2 national championships. The reality is the Georgia fandom is tired because they've been out of it. They've still been performing well in the SEC, just not performing well in the CFP. And really, they're in a no excuse type of moment. This kind of reminds me of the moment when Clemson was starting to fade.
Mm-hmm.
And people start talking about Dabo being on the chopping block. I can see Kirby Smart, if they don't win a championship, people start talking about him being on the chopping block. Just like what happened with what's the brother from Penn now who's at Virginia Tech?
Oh, James Franklin.
James Franklin.
Yeah, just like him. I'm like, Penn State finished probably 3rd in the Big Ten for years. Been in the CFP, not making it through, and the Penn State fans were like, okay, time to go. And here's the reality: you can be a winning coach, you really, really can, but if you don't win a championship enough, sometimes it is best, to make a break and start somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Put me in mind of Andy Reid. Philly was constantly running, but eventually he had to do a change of scenery, and it's actually worked out for both teams in his own way. So I just think Kirby Smart is in a precarious position. Me personally, they'll end up 1 or 2 in the SEC. They'll make their run in the CFP, and if he doesn't win either one of those, I'm still keeping him. Because there's just not that many quality coaches out there that's good. And here's the thing, you all know this. As long as you have a chance, eventually you're going to get those pieces and they're going to put you over the top. It's going to come. If you watch Nick Saban's career, he's had these moments, but eventually he got his pieces plugged in, he go on another run.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
Pragmatically,
and Kirby's done that. He's lived that. He knows.
So that's my
So,
thought about Uga. I know when they play Texas, that's one of my high impact games.
mm-hmm,
So that's
mm-hmm.
going to really determine whether or not I think he's on a hot seat or not.
Well, I'll tell you what. Actually, you know what, G? And that segues into what I'm going to talk about with them. They avoid Texas this year.
Yeah.
They
Do
don't play
they?
Texas this year. And one of the things
Oh,
I was going to say, I agree with you about Kirby wholeheartedly. And this schedule that they have works out perfectly for him to be in this position because they also only have what I would call 5 top tier opponents. So they also have what I would consider one of the easier schedules in the conference. They go to Ole Miss late in the year. Obviously, they go to Bama. I even counted Missouri in this. Their schedule's probably even lighter than I initially thought because I'm counting Missouri as one of those games at South Carolina and Oklahoma. So you could legitimately say that if they can beat Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma, or at least get 2 of those 3, they're in good standing. But you're probably right, G. They're right. They're going to be 1 or 2 in the conference. Even if they went 1 and 2 in those 3 games, you're not going to probably lose another game, and you're probably second or shit. You probably have a chance to still win the conference. To be quite honest, looking at these schedules, but one of the things I want to say about Georgia, I love the fact that their quarterback's returning. Now, I don't think that he jumps off the page. I think that he works for what they want to do on offense, but I do not feel like he's going to win a national championship for you. He makes big plays, but not those type of plays that once you get into a round robin tournament, that he's going to be able to overwhelm teams round after round. I just don't see that happening. Another big issue that will probably give Kirby a pass this year. Georgia is going to be the youngest team in the FBS. Their average age is 19 years old.
19.
So they got a lot of young guys, but there is some pressure. There's definitely going to be some pressure. The defense will be proven again. Their defense is going to be rock solid. It's going to come down to what the offense can do. And I think we saw some of that in the playoff game that they lost to Ole Miss. They made some plays here and there, but they didn't make enough plays on offense to overcome Ole Miss. And I think that eventually caught up with them. Big question, final question for them is the wide receiver position.
Yes.
I don't know what they're going to do with the wide receiver positions. And they haven't really had a superstar in some years. If you remember the last couple of years, they suffered from the dropsies a lot. Remember the game against Alabama where they had come all the way back and the receiver dropped the wide open touchdown pass, and they probably would end up winning that game if he catches that. But they're going to be in trouble on offense, and one of the big things overall is going to be, is their youth going to be their liability this year? And even having said all that, they probably still, like G said, end up being 1 or 2 in the conference. Vanderbilt, and I actually want to talk about South Carolina too, but Vanderbilt, is it even remotely possible that there's life after Diego Pavia, who, by the way, guys, got waived today? If you didn't see that news.
Did he?
He did.
The Ravens waived him, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So what can Vanderbilt do? And I give you a little bit about Vanderbilt because you guys may not remember it. It's been such a long time now. But he was one of the first to commit. They got the quarterback who flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt. He was the number 1 quarterback in the country. He was a local kid from Brentwood Academy, which is one of the powerhouses down there in Nashville. They also got the wide receiver who flipped from Bama. So they stole 2 recruits, 1 each from Georgia and Alabama as part of this freshman class. And again, is there life after Diego Pavia? Is going to be the question.
Well, of course there's life, but I don't know if it's the life they want.
Is it a good life? Is it a good life?
You know what? Listening to the coach, he was really, really calm about everything. Wasn't being boastful. They wasn't pulling an old Lane Kiffin, taking digs at coaches. Didn't do anything like that. Honestly, and I only watched a clip. I just kind of felt like he was basically saying we're going to get the brakes beat off of us until we can get
Really?
this two-back experiment taken care of.
I like Clark Lee. I hope that they don't completely go backwards, but I think it's going to be hard not to with such a young team, like your key players being so young. But I'll tell you right now, that Jared Curtis kid at quarterback, he's going to be the real deal, man. If Clark can keep his job long enough for this to come to fruition, which I think
Right.
he, because they love him down there. I think we're going to see another special year or two out of them. Big dude, any thoughts on Vanderbilt?
Nah, I'm looking at some of their players. I just don't think. I think that they can be competitive, but I don't think they have much to compete. I just don't see it. I mean, they may surprise a team or two this year. I'm looking at some other folks. Not too many of them look familiar, unless this is old. But there's another guy. I didn't know if that wideout you were talking about is Junior Sherrill. That's not him, is it?
My guy's a freshman. He's a freshman recruit that just flipped his decision. This will be his
okay. Okay. This guy Sherrill is a senior, so we'll see 5'11", 200. It's going to be interesting what happens with these people that stayed at Vanderbilt. I know it's a tremendous academic school, but who else can they get in there? 784 yards receiving and 54 receptions. So they have somebody it'll be fine. Their offensive line and all that, without even looking at them, I don't even know what their potential is. I just know that I don't think they're going to fit in there. I think they've had their time in the sun.
I think they'll be competitive, like you said, but I don't see them. I mean, if you look at their schedule, take a peek at their schedule real quick.
Right.
They also have one of the lighter schedules in the conference, but I don't think that's going to help them much. They play Alabama still. They get them at home. They play at Georgia. They get Ole Miss at home. They play Tennessee at home.
Great.
They probably have a chance. I'm looking at their schedule. They can probably start off the season 4-0 and give people false hopes before.
Yeah, I mean they play Delaware. They better be able to beat Delaware.
Yeah, they have Austin P, Delaware, NC State, and I have them winning at Auburn. And then after that,
I think NC State's gonna beat them though.
They might. I would not be shocked if NC State beat them. I would not be. But I think Clark Lee could straight up coach. I think he can win a couple of games for them. I do think he can coach.
Yeah, you're right, man. Looking at this schedule, they could end up being a 9-win team.
Yeah, they'll be in a bowl game, which it won't be going completely backwards, and I don't think they'll be like a 1 game over 500 bowl team. I think they, like you said, I think they can win a few.
Yeah, they can beat Mississippi State and possibly Florida, and they should be able to beat Kentucky.
Yep.
I don't know how. I don't think any team that has played two quarterbacks until they figured it out have fared well early.
Yeah.
And who is that? Who are you referring to, G?
Vanderbilt. Supposedly, one of the comments was the coach was saying that he's going with there's a QB.
Oh, he's going to platoon him? Okay. I didn't realize that.
That's what I read.
I thought Curtis got the keys to the car, but okay.
Unless something has changed since when I was looking at Vanderbilt, earlier this morning and now.
It will make sense. I mean, like I said, kid's a true freshman. It will make sense. As good as he's ranked, coming out of high school, still there's going to, there's a change in speed as you go levels. So I wouldn't be surprised. Just want to talk about South Carolina real quick because I love Lenoris Sellers, the quarterback. He got hurt last year, and they had high expectations in Columbia last year before he got hurt. And with him being healthy, I mean, I thought he was on his way to being a Heisman candidate last year. And I think he has NFL potential. I don't remember what his injury was off the top of my head.
Let me find out.
And I think that I'm trying to think where they were playing in a big game that they actually were in before he went down. I think, you know what? Was it the Alabama game? I don't think it was the Alabama game because he almost beat us in the end on that one. But in any case,
Vanderbilt.
Was it the Vanderbilt game?
Yep, took a high hit to the head right before halftime.
And I think that they were in that game. Yeah, isn't that they weren't they leading? Is that another game? I think they were in. No, that was them in Texas A&M where they were beating Texas A&M 21-0 or 28-0, and Texas A&M beat them like 56-21 or whatever the score ended up being. But so South Carolina ended up being 4-8 last year, and they had big hopes for them. But Sellers never really was healthy even down the stretch when he came back. So I'm just interested to see what they do. And they have a variable on their team. Their new offensive coordinator is Art Browse Jr. Then you guys remember Art Browse, the coach at Baylor, and all that drama that Baylor had. His son is a very good offensive coordinator, and he's a hell of a recruiter. All right, so day 3. Okay, of course, we had the big dogs, Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. I mean, Texas A&M and Alabama jump out to me out of those group of teams. You guys feel free to start anywhere.
Well, I'd like to start with that Bama quarterback battle. It's going to be interesting. You got a dual threat guy, you know, and then you have another dude that's bigger, you know, 6'3", and he's probably about 220 and 225. So it's going to be about, and they put in all the intangibles. I kind of looked and did the kind of same type of search that G did on some of the other things that I did on some more obscure things. Most of what they talked about is the bigger quarterback that followed over their coach from coming from Washington. He's better with the playbook. The other guy he's a little bit more shifty. He's going to get the first down with his legs and all those things. I guess my question is, I haven't heard who it's going to look like that they're going to play for. I think with Alabama, that's what's going to be really big. They got to get this quarterback situation solved really fast. I do agree with G. Going into the season, and I don't think it's ever worked where you've had 2 quarterbacks. We tried that and it actually threw us behind, you know, because we played a team that wasn't so good. So people got work, but you gotta figure it out. Got to make a decision. Got great respect for him. I think that's the way that Alabama starts off. I think the guy that has the playbook and whoever they're going to play harder for should be the quarterback to begin with. And I think that'll probably get Alabama out of the gate a lot better this year, if you ask me.
Yeah, Bama has to definitely come out strong because Guri, your team has a tough road to hoe.
We do.
Looking at you all schedule, so y'all really have to be ready.
We definitely do. I think that we're going to be better than people think.
Yep.
Quarterback situation is definitely going to be huge. I've been saying Keelan Russell the entire time. That's who I want to see. I don't dislike Austin Mack. I think he'd be okay. You know, I'm okay if he starts as well, but I think ultimately he's gonna end up on the bench. Whether he ends up starting the season, I think a few games in, it's gonna be obvious. Now he might be able to get away with these first few games: East Carolina, Kentucky, Florida State. I don't know what they're gonna be, but I think that we'll be hungry for that one because we'll just want payback, and that's in Tuscaloosa. But then you got South Carolina the following week, which isn't going to be an easy game. And that could be the make or break week where they're like, okay, I could see a first half, nothing happening. Keelan's going in and that'll be it from there. But Bama's big problems that they need to resolve is that offensive line and to be able to run the ball again. I mean, they're not playing Alabama football. They are not going to win, especially with 2 green quarterbacks relying on the pass. You know, and that's kind of what situation they got in last year. I shouldn't say kind of. That was the situation last year. We had to try to pass to win games. We were ineffective at running the ball last year. We were 123rd in the country in rushing. Just over 100 yards a game. That's ridiculous.
And what's interesting is they had to replace that whole just about offensive line
Yep.
to find out who they have now. Now you got a guy that replaced the other dude last year. I can't even remember what his name is. But you got, anytime you bring in a transfer from Cal Poly, that's a little bit telling. The starting tackle at Alabama, that just didn't even sound right. I said Cal Poly. Whoa.
Well, what I'm hearing is that the line is ready, but you can only be so ready if you haven't played. But one of the things that Alabama's going to have to get past is what happened to them at the end of the season. Because I know every fan, when I think of, whenever somebody says Alabama football, I think Indiana. And how we got bullied and we're not mean anymore. We get physically dominated by teams now. I don't want to see that anymore. And if you, like you said, G, they got to come out of the gate. And if they don't come out of the gate and we see more of what we saw last year, DeBoer is going to be in trouble.
Yep, they are.
Be in big trouble.
Looking at this LSU game, man. That
it's
LSU
going to be a problem.
Game is going to be a problem indeed.
I mean, that whole stretch, G, I think you brought it up first. That whole stretch, we get Georgia at home, then we go to Tennessee. Texas A&M comes rolling in at LSU. Season could be done before Thanksgiving, man.
It could be. It honestly could be, because Texas A&M, they have the ability if they put it all together, though.
Yeah, and that's a good segue into them. A&M, I thought was probably one of the more disappointing teams in the playoffs.
Yeah,
because they had such a good season, and you remember how ugly that playoff game was. I mean, neither team could score, and I thought for sure that Texas A&M could have at least gotten to the semis. I thought they were that good. Their quarterback returns. I think that he is going to be a problem. I think he could be an NFL caliber quarterback. But do we think the Aggies could bounce back? Like, was that a fluke last year, you guys think, or might Texas A&M be a little
Think about the people they just put in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have a legit team and a legit pipeline. That's why I say, man, that when Alabama gets to Texas A&M, that's not going to be an easy game by any stretch.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. And this is going to sound weird because the way we're talking about them, it's like they had a terrible year. Them Jokers was 11-0 at one point.
Right.
Yes. Yes. They're no slouch.
I ain't gonna lie, I underestimated them, and I stuck with Texas Tech regardless last year. I was like, I don't care if they're undefeated. Texas Tech is gonna win.
I tell you what, big dude, it was sounding crazy when we were doing our predictions, but you damn sure were money with it, man. If the quarterback let Texas Tech down, that's all it was.
Yeah.
Quarterback. Texas A&M schedule, not a juggernaut.
They play Texas.
Yeah, they got those games. They got sporadic tough games. LSU road too. That's the problem. They play LSU, Alabama, and Oklahoma all on the road.
Woo.
One of them got to get you, and then you get Texas at home. It looks like that's Thanksgiving, so that's what they're doing that again.
I guess so.
That's what we doing. Okay, I'm here for it.
And actually, because if South Carolina plays the way you think they are capable of, that's going to be good.
Yeah, South Carolina. There's too many wild card teams in this SEC that they have the potential, but they're just teams that haven't won in so long. You don't have any confidence that it's set up for them to make noise, but then it ends up becoming the same old team. So that just concerns me, man. But all right, let's jump into our day 4. I'm sorry, Big Dude, we can get back to LSU. We can start with LSU out of that group. It was Arkansas, LSU, Mississippi State, and Texas. And really, LSU and Texas are the only teams to talk about out of that group.
Yeah, basically.
No disrespect to those other fine institutions. Talking about football right now.
Right. Well, LSU starts off. It'll be interesting, even though that Clemson game doesn't look like much. That's the that's kind of what's going to dictate what happens with them. Clemson obviously is not as good on paper, but always dangerous games, and them going to like I said, going into Ole Miss on September 19th, going there at night. That's going to be a real tough game for them. So I think LSU, looking at their schedule, they have mostly all their key games, I'm going to say, at home. You know, they play Texas at home. They play Alabama at home. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win, but I say that they're another team that's really tough at home, as well as Texas A&M. They have all those games at home, except for Ole Miss. So I think getting out early is going to be what's interesting. They had some people come out of the portal. You know, they got their new coach and new staff. It's going to be a matter of, you know, what attitude they come out the blocks with. But I think this is I would say the year for LSU.
Yeah, you mentioned Ole Miss, and I realized we skipped over them. We'll circle back to them after we finish LSU in Texas.
Yeah, LSU. That first game against Clemson, y'all, I want you to remember something that happened this offseason.
Right.
Dabo used the portal.
He did.
He used the portal.
He better have.
Yeah, he brought in quite a few people. So this may not be that, you know, that 600 Clemson from the ACC.
Yeah, I'm not looking at that game like that at all. I'm looking at that as one of the best games of that first week.
Yeah, that game is tougher than what people think.
Yeah.
And it will. I think you just said this, big dude. That's going to set a tone for LSU this season, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lane can't lose that first game. No matter how much improved Clemson might be, he's got to send a message in that first game.
Yep.
And if you think about it, both of them is kind of a message game. Clemson needs to be saying we're back.
That's true. That's true. That is true. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Sam Leavitt, the quarterback from Arizona State, I didn't see anything about whether he's going to be ready to go or not, because he did have that injury last year. From all signs, it looks like he is, but I didn't see anything definitive. In terms of LSU, certainly there's high expectations with Lane Kiffin coming to town. They had the number one transfer class. I don't know if y'all knew that or not. 41 additions.
Wow.
So it's going to be a different team, but, you know, Lane can recruit. So, you know, never been accused of not being able to do that. He has a new offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr. He's going to be running the offense. Their offensive line might be their undoing because basically they just have two proven people, their center, and then they got the guy from Colorado, Jordan Seaton, which not one of my favorite people right now, but whatever. Yeah. But the rest of the positions are unproven for them. So protecting Sam Leavitt, being able to run the ball, those would be some things that we want to look at in that opening game, because if Clemson's nothing else, they usually fly around on defense if they're nothing else. So we'll see what happens with that. But do we think, we know that they have Kiffin, we know all this hype. Are we all saying we believe that LSU is a legitimate CFP? Can forget the SEC. I think we would agree that they're SEC contenders, but do we think they're a legitimate CFP contender?
I don't know.
Nah, neither I know.
No, only because it's such a reconstituted team, and you just, I mean, a lot of this hype is about Kiffin himself, and we know that he's a really good recruiter, a really good coach. But then it's a whole different thing when you're talking about pulling in, you know, as many new players as they're going to pull in. Can they be this cohesive unit? So I don't know. I think that they're going to do well in the SEC. I can't say that they're going to do well, you know, when it comes to championship pictures or playoff picture for that matter yet.
Yeah, I'd say on the edge, like in the circles, kind of like on the edge, the outer edge of the spectrum. It's like they're legitimate. They're in there. They're in there because they should be, but not necessarily that they're there. So for what they had and them bringing in 41 new players on paper, I would say yes. But I agree with G. The continuity is yet to be seen.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, and I guess we'll find out how good of a coach he is.
Yeah,
I mean, I think highly of him, but this will be a hell of a win for him if he can bring this team together with that many new players in year one. That'll be quite a hell of a coaching job.
Yep.
Texas.
They're going to win
like
it all.
This is the team. I was just about to say, I feel like this is the team that everybody's got their eyes on this year in the conference and nationally, to be quite honest with you. Either one of you can start there.
You know, I just said they're going to win it all, but I
don't believe that.
To be fair, I think they're a contender because when I was doing some more detailed research into them, they have some special team issues that they need to work out. Their back end, the safety, that they're suspect in that area still, as well as the inside offensive line, they still need to tighten up a bit. So if they can at least, well, I don't know, if they can tighten those up, then yes. But right now, those are still some of their weaknesses.
What do you think about Texas, big dude?
I like them. They have a couple of tough road games. Oklahoma and LSU are going to be some really tough home games. I mean, away games, as well as Texas A&M. So I say if they take 2 of those 3 games, I think you're talking about them playing for the SEC championship.
Yeah, Texas is such an easy pick. And while Arch did get better,
right,
he did.
He's still not like Arch that they was talking about coming out of high school to me. Now, maybe he's ready. Maybe this is the year.
Haven't seen it yet.
Haven't seen it yet.
Well, he showed flashes toward the end of the middle to the end of the season, I thought.
They got Cam Coleman from Auburn, a wide receiver. That's going to be huge for them. I just don't know. I'm not sold on Texas for some reason. And maybe 3 months ago I may have been. I don't know. I think they could win the conference. I do think they can win the conference. It's winnable. But I'm with you. I think G on the national end of it, I don't see it. I don't see it. And a lot will depend on how much Arch progresses. Certainly, I mean, if he becomes who they said he was, then that's a problem. But I just haven't seen that yet. His style of play, it's not what I expected it to be.
Well, he got to get past Ohio State, and that's going to be a test to what you're talking about. His skills, his true skills, will be tested when my Buckeyes come to town. And that's going to tell you how he may be by the time he gets to Ole Miss.
Yep. And it's going to tell us a lot about Sarkisian. It's going to tell us a lot about Sarkisian as a coach. It's going to tell us a lot about Arch because remember, I mean, it wasn't a blowout last year, that first game, but they got dominated in Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of times we don't see what teams are made of in these they hate to say revenge games, but it's a revenge game.
It is.
Call it whatever they want to call it. And it's an early season game that can set the national stage for both teams. So you best believe that somebody needs to show us something. If Texas doesn't show up for that game, when are they going to show up?
And my Buckeyes, they're coming with a chip on our shoulders this season.
Yeah, definitely. All right. And like I said, we did skip Ole Miss. I apologize for that. We have to talk about Ole Miss because there's a little bit of controversy with them. So, Golding dabbles mad at Ole Miss because he's claiming that they tampered with one of his players. Are you guys familiar with the story about the kid who basically transferred to Clemson? I think he was a linebacker. He had started classes and everything, and then changed his mind and went to Ole Miss.
So he was taking like summer courses?
No, it was January. He was a January transfer, I believe.
Yeah, and they scooped him out of there. Kind of
Yep.
Yeah, they scooped him out of there.
You do that. I guess you can.
Scooped him.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't be laughing because it's dirty.
No,
man.
it's the truth. No, it's funny, man, because it may have happened. The people don't understand. It may have happened very passively. The coach might not have called the number right there, but somebody did, and he ended up with somebody.
You're right, big dude. Somebody damn sure talked to this kid.
Yeah.
But certainly we had the Trinidad Chambliss drama. We're not even going to replay all of that with all of the eligibility fights and court battles we talked about all summer. But we have him coming back, and we have Kawan Lacey, who, man, I can't wait till he gets to the next level. Love the way he plays. Had a nice CFP playoff. Really helped them, get to where they got. But Golding made it.
He has to improve on his completion percentage, man.
He does. He can definitely get better. He's got room for growth. That's why I'm glad that he actually got his year of he needs this extra year, because he would have just fell down the NFL abyss if he had come out last year, I think.
I agree.
But I want to make go back to something that Golding said during the presser about this Clemson situation. He didn't really address it directly, but he said something along the lines, and this is part of his quote: "You got the same ADs bitching about all this stuff, the same ones who are calling coaches mid-year about job openings."
Yeah, exactly.
And he ain't wrong.
Exactly.
He's not wrong.
Lobbing grenades.
Right? It's like, oh, when it hurts me, I have a problem with it, but when I'm doing it to people, it's all good, right?
Exactly.
So I'm not mad at him.
I think they all temper.
Absolutely. How can you? It's almost impossible not to if you want to compete.
No, even passively. Right? Somebody go talk to number 57. Say to give me a call, and nobody knows what that even means.
Nope.
Like,
yeah.
And a lot of these players know each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would think that some of this stuff is hard to prove too, man, unless somebody just dimes it out.
It's impossible.
Interesting.
I think you're right. It's probably working through the players.
Yeah,
that's easy to do that. Easy to do it through the players. That's my boy from high school. Come on.
Well, yeah, man, we used to go to the same camps.
Yeah. Or how do we know that a player didn't orchestrate it? We can't assume that it's always, because I know if we're boys and we go to different schools and I'm like, yo, we could win it if we get G and Big Dude. Yo, I'm gonna holler at my boys. See if
exactly
I can come over here.
Yep.
You know that what I'm saying? So Ole Miss, I wanted to make sure we got back to him too because of that. But I also wanted to find out, do you think that there can be any carryover from Kiffin's time there to make Ole Miss a contender? Because nobody's really talking about them. So not only in the SEC, but can they get back to the CFP? Because they have a pretty good roster. Got to do a veteran quarterback, veteran running back.
I say yes. I mean, and I think their opportunity again with an early game is when they play Louisville. You know, I know it's a home game for them. Louisville is a big game. To me, that's the biggest game of the first half of the season. I mean, LSU is one thing, but they have to really come out the gates beating Louisville and beating them pretty good. You know, they got LSU at home. And then, let's see, Oklahoma. Going to Oklahoma won't be easy, but I think the schedule works out for them also. And they got nerve to have Wofford on November 21st. How can you get a team like that late in the season? You know, it's actually a pretty smart move.
Yeah, that's that cupcake stuff that messes people up, makes folks mad.
Right. But at least you're thinking you won't lose your quarterback and you won't lose Kiwan. You know, they'll all be there and you won't have to play them that much. It's like, so it's almost like an off week for them. I think that the carryover is good. I mean, they may not win as prohibitively. I mean, they actually, won some tough games last year. Beating Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was tough. They were in the Georgia game in October, and then of course, like I said, they ended up getting them later, in the Sugar Bowl. But it's going to be interesting. I would say with the quarterback and the people they have left, those are, I don't know how it would work, but I think that they're closer to the top than people would think this year.
Yeah, they got a pretty
they may get
schedule,
9 wins. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be
They have a
surprised
pretty
if they got
favorable
11.
schedule. They're another one of those teams that only have, to me, 5 big games.
Right. That's why I wouldn't be surprised, G, if it was 11. I'm serious.
11?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And the way their games are spread out, too.
Yeah.
So they start off with DeVille, Charlotte, then LSU at home. Then you add 3 weeks, if you want to count Mizzou's, but let's go a month, then you get Texas. Then you skip, then 2 weeks later, you got Georgia. Georgia and Oklahoma will be the 2 stretches. Those are back-to-back.
Mm-hmm.
One at home, one on the road. But I don't know about that, man. So
yeah, I don't know if they get to 11, but I definitely can see 9.
Right.
if they get to 11, they're a damn good team.
Yeah, they're good.
All right, so who do y'all think wins this conference this year?
I don't think no one's going to be undefeated.
No, I think somebody's going to win that has 2 losses. I'm telling you, I think Ole Miss is coming back with a vengeance, man. I'm going to pick Ole Miss. I
hate to say this, but Alabama keeps popping in my head when you ask that question.
Yeah, and I say Alabama, the top 4, Ole Miss, Georgia, and Alabama, and LSU are my top 4.
And for me, it's Bama, LSU, Texas, Texas A&M.
I think Georgia wins it because of their schedule, not because I think they're the best team.
Right.
They have a favorable schedule. I like Texas A&M, LSU, and Ole Miss. And I don't know who. It's going to be interesting who can get out of there and get to the CFP, because I think there's going to be a lot of teams jumbled up. When you look at these schedules, you're going to have your SEC champ might have three losses.
I don't know about 3, but I can see your champ having 2. I can legit see him having 2 losses.
I mean, if somebody gets through that conference looking at the schedule with 2 losses, they've had a hell of a season, because some of these stretches that these teams play, it's going to be good ball week in and week out.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch. And I'll probably be watching LSU more than anybody else. I'm just curious to see what Texas is going to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much change too with so much change in the conference. Like I said, 6 new coaches. What do those teams look like? And especially with LSU being the marquee change, it'll be good stuff. But of course, next show, the Big Ten stuff. Cannot wait. To see what you got to say about the Big Ten.
Boom, 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 boom.
I don't agree with your little antics, G, because as we will talk about next week, don't play anybody in the regular season. When we do the schedule breakdown, I'm gonna make a comparison to something,
mm-hmm.
And it's true. But congratulations on your 3 in a row. See if we can make it 4.
Well, we'll make it 4. I'll definitely believe that.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, y'all, you already hear my bitterness, people. So thank you again for joining us. Continue to subscribe, like, and follow. Hang with us on Chasing Rings. Until next time, we'll talk about the Big Ten and their media days. See ya later.